Bring this up onto Facebook. Boom, boom, share timeline, go live. And then let's see here. It's loading. It's loading. How should it have a link? Okay. So let's see. Okay, looks like we're live on there. Awesome. Okay. So let's see. Okay, looks like we're live on there. Awesome. Let me see something here. Sorry, this is my first time doing this, guys. So let me see. Something's going on here. This is my first time doing this. There we go. Okay. I was like, gosh, that's annoying. All right. So anyways, guys, so welcome to my webinar here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my little presentation I spent decades on. Not really, but you know. All right. And there we go. And boom. And let's see. You guys can see I made some fun stuff. Slide. All right, where's the presentation deal? Present. Boom, there I am. All right. So welcome again to my little webinar here. I wanted to first go ahead and just talk a little bit about who I am. Some of you guys may or may not know who I am. So basically, I'm Ryan. I have been a personal trainer for, I want to say it's around 7 to 10 years, around there, something like that. But basically, I first started, my little history is that I first started in the industry in 2005. I was a fitness instructor and fitness attendant at a local gym. And basically there, my whole job qualification or job description was I needed to show people how to use the equipment properly, how to help out people, like just get acquainted to them. I didn't know too much about technique, but I knew based off of my stuff about exercise that kind of how to help people. Then as I went through at that gym, I was there for about 10 years, but as I went through and progressed, I was working out consistently there. People started to notice that I was working out. I got a trainer. He helped me a little bit about my goals at that time were to get bigger and stronger. That was my thing. And as I went through that, I found that I had the issue for me was that I eat to live, not live to eat. So what that meant is that I did not eat very much for myself. So what I found from that was that I was trying to get stronger and bigger, and that was not how to do it. I found that I was not getting the size, the strength, anything that I was wanting, and I was spending hours in the gym, hour and a half sometimes, maybe close to 2 hours. I thought more was better. I learned that it's not quite that way. And basically my trainer at that time, he asked me like what my nutrition was like, and I told him, and he's like, you got to eat. And so I wanted to do bodybuilding, not get on the show, but like actually just get bigger and stronger. So as time went on, some people hired me as a coach because they saw me working out consistently in the gym. And they said that it'd be really cool if I could help out their youth athletes. They're swimming. There's some swimming athletes and some volleyball athletes, and it was awesome. Like I really enjoyed it. And they even told me later on after the season that they found that the rankings actually went up higher than usual. So that was really cool. I did that for a number of years. I forgot exactly how many, but a few. And then as time went on, I started to notice that I really liked helping people get like especially physically fit. I helped out working with athletes. I was an athlete myself. I was actually into soccer and tennis throughout middle school or even elementary school, actually, all the way up to about high school, college time. And so my whole thing in fitness was get bigger and stronger, and of course to help me out with sports. So fasting forward a little bit further, I found that like I said, I really liked helping people. So I became a personal trainer. With that, I found that I was at becoming a personal trainer. I got my certification through NASM, and I started noticing there was an obesity epidemic. So with the obesity epidemic around the, especially here in the U.S., I found that it's like 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 10 people were considered obese. So I went from wanting to help out athletes to helping out people lose body fat, lose weight. And I found that there was a
Do you have the paper?
big thing.
It's Augmentin St. Clair.
There we go. So I found that there was a issue with, at least with my nutrition. And I found that for people that were here in the US, that there was a big problem with losing body fat. And I want to try to help people out with that. So I started to learn a little bit more about how to lose body fat. I know majority of people that are coming into the gym, they want to lose weight and get fit. So that's basically who I am. And then after I got my NASM certification, I spent a few years doing personal training, and then I got my physical therapy assistant, helping people recovering from an injury. I got certified in that, and then that was about a year ago now, close to almost 2 years, I believe it is. And so now I'm here trying to help out people online. I love what I do. Seeing people get results, it makes me feel pretty happy. It makes me keep going and remind me of why I do what I do, kind of thing. So without further ado, how to lose fat in those stubborn areas? That's the big question, right? So here's some things to focus on, and hopefully let me know if you guys ever have any issues with hearing me or anything like that, or seeing me. Sometimes my network connection isn't always the greatest, but basically when it comes to fat loss, these are the things that you need to work on most. And I'm going to actually add one thing on here as well, but sleep. I know a lot of people, they try to go through the grind, especially parents. I mean, we all find that, I know for myself, I'm still working on it, but trying to get quality sleep, not just quantity of sleep. Like if you just tell yourself 79 hours, I'm just going to get that. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I can deal with 4 or 5, or maybe even close to 6. But I know with parents, it is tough. And I feel for you. And sometimes you just have to kind of figure out a way to make it work. I know some people, they can be like, okay, well, I put the kids down and they scroll through social media and they just, time flies by and then you realize, okay, well, I only got 5 hours of sleep, but this is my me time. Well, sometimes that can be a hindrance to your progress, is actually getting good sleep, because it helps you with recovery. It helps you with, reducing your stress levels. And that can help, that can actually counteract or conflict with your progress. I guess I could say it that way. And then nutrition. So with nutrition, it's kind of like up in the air for people about, what exactly do I need to eat? Well, I found that I like the 80-20 rule. And I ask all my clients to track, whether it is through portion control, whether it is through, doing a total daily, or was it MyFitnessPal, calorie counting, something along those lines. Even using a plate, you can do that, but you need some way to track your food, and not just, I'll skip over that candy bar, or I'll skip over that beer, whatever I had. Even liquid calories add up. So tracking anything outside of water for liquid calories, even sauces, that kind of thing. So for exercise wise, looking at strength training, endurance training. So what is endurance training? I would consider that higher repetition, lightweight strength training at times, but then also incorporating could do running, jump roping, walking. Walking is a great one, especially if you're very deconditioned. Getting 10,000 steps, that's something I very much promote for my clients. And then focus on getting stronger and strengthening your heart. Now, for myself, whenever I talk about exercise, yes, the whole exercise deal, getting stronger with strength training and work on your endurance training, those do help. But I also want to emphasize, don't try to look at strength training and endurance training as being like, I'm going to outwork my diet and I'm going to try to work my tail off in order to burn the most amount of calories. Way I like to look at now is that celebrate how your body moves with strength training and endurance training. Show that you can actually walk up a hill, or you can play around with your kids for a little bit longer than you, and not have to sit down for a long time. You can actually play in the jungle gym with them. You can run around with them, that kind of thing. And so that's what I like to look at for exercise wise. Strengthening your heart and strengthening your muscles, and just being able to function better, perform better. There we go. So measuring progress. A lot of people, they say, I want to lose weight. That's a very common thing in our in diet culture, I guess, is trying to lose the weight. And so a lot of people say, I checked the scale, and I gained weight, or I haven't lost any weight. Well, I look at non-scale victories. So what I mean by that, as you see here, it's like I want to check. Let me see something actually. Yep. So checking your measurements. Do you check by using your tape measure? There's another one is, are you not getting as tired as easy whenever you're playing with your kids or grandkids, not feeling as winded or out of breath? Is it easier to climb a flight of stairs? I mean, shoot, I went to, in my area, we have a place called City Museum, and there's like a ton of stairs just to get up to from I think the first floor all the way up to the roof. There we go. I was trying to think of the name. And I was feeling like decent endurance kick in. I was, huffing and puffing a little bit. And I also know some people stopping halfway through. And so, if you're very deconditioned, helping out with fat loss, working on that endurance training, that's going to help out with burning a little bit more calories, but it also helps strengthen your heart. So are you doing an exercise with more weight? That's another thing you can track, is like if you're doing, let's say, a squat and you're holding it to your chest, are you doing 10 repetitions with, instead of 10 pounds this time, you did maybe for 15 pounds. That's a way to track your progress throughout this thing outside of using the scale. Are you doing exercise with the same weight but with more reps? That's another way to look at your progress, because believe it or not, it's like this, the whole idea of fat loss is more about taking care of your body and trying to get stronger. So that's another way to track your progress. Are you sleeping easier? Did you eat, oopsie, sorry. There you go. All right. Did you eat carbs or guilty, quote unquote, guilty food without guilt? Sometimes that's a big thing of changing the mindset. Because I know the mindset's a huge thing. And a lot of us look at certain foods as really bad, and then we beat ourselves up, and that's usually why we spiral. So that's something else to think about, is, are you sleeping easier throughout the day, or throughout the night, not the day? Did you eat high calorie food instead of in moderation, instead of binge eating? So did you go crazy on the binge eating? And typically with binge eating, what I recommend doing is, I heard another coach offer this tip and I liked it, is that typically when we're binge eating, we are basically waiting for that moment. Like in our minds, we're saying, okay, at this moment, I'm going to start eating like crazy. Well, maybe the better thing to do is, when that moment's about to happen, wait about 20 minutes. So just tell yourself, wait about 20 minutes. If you still feel like binge eating, then go for it. Go crazy. I've heard some people actually say that helped, that the feeling actually went away. So that's another way to kind of judge your progress, is, are you actually eating high calorie food, but in moderation, not putting yourself through guilt. And then losing that fat in those stubborn areas. Now, I will say that you cannot spot reduce, unfortunately. So I know a lot of people that come into the gym, they try to, like I said, doing sit-ups a bunch of times, and I say, what are you trying to do? And they say, I want to get rid of my stomach fat. So they're always like pointing to their stomach like this. And then I'm like, well, those aren't really going to do it. And doing toning exercises for your arms. Now, granted, if you have muscle definition, it'll start doing that. But if you're trying to get rid of the flab, whenever you go like this and you're waving your arms like that, and you got a little bit of fat kind of waving around, doing a bunch of arm exercises won't necessarily do that. It'll help strengthen your muscles up. It'll grow them a little bit, but won't burn the fat around there necessarily. So again, it's not spot reducing. And like I said, nutrition, no food is inherently going to make you fat. Now, there is some foods that you want to make sure that you're in moderation, like chocolates, ice cream, drinking beer, or alcohol in general, eating candy, any of that feel good stuff. You want to try and keep that in moderation. What I tell people is eat your goal body weight in grams of protein. As I know, I used to do where it's like your current body weight, but some people that is like almost impossible. So, if not impossible for some people. So I say pick your goal body weight and just eat it in grams of protein. And make sure you're eating, do some strength training along with that to help out boosting your metabolism there. So filling up on veggies, that's another thing. I don't know anybody that I've known that said I eat a ton of vegetables and now I gained weight. So basically with that adds fiber. Make sure you drink plenty of water with that, as I say right there. Make sure you do fill up on your veggies, that you fill half your plate full of that. And maybe just, as I say to people, going out to get-togethers, maybe eat a big salad before you go, either at home or you can order one at the restaurant. But just keep in mind the salad dressing can add up. So just making sure that you have as much control over the nutrition part as you can. Not saying you can't go out to a restaurant, but just make sure that like you actually fill up on the vegetables. Maybe get a side of vegetables instead of side of fries. That can help out with feeling satiated and more full. Another one is drink close to your body weight in ounces of water. So you can either do this one at like your goal body weight or your full body weight, whichever one works for you, but it helps out. Just because I know for a lot of people, including myself, don't drink enough water, and that can help you feel a little bit more full too. And make sure to eat your fruit. I've actually known that there was a trend going on years ago. I would say about maybe 10 plus years ago. And they're saying don't eat fruit because it'll make you fat. Well, turns out you can. You can eat fruit without gaining the weight. So I encourage that. It's it has vitamins, minerals in it, and it helps you with fiber intake as well. And then make sure that you're comfortably full. So make sure you don't scarf down your food. Something that can happen is like sometimes it's been known that for studies that say that it takes about maybe 20 minutes around there, roughly 20 minutes for you to actually feel full whenever you're eating. So what I recommend doing is actually slowing down your eating. Take about 20 minutes, enjoy the food. I know I catch myself, then I actually find like I'm scarfing it down because I only have like so much time, but actually try to enjoy the food, taste it. I know we're kind of a go society. We eat on the go sometimes, but I've actually done that a few times where I caught myself and I really actually tasted the food. I was like, whoa, it was pretty interesting experience there. So as I've said, here's a few methods of tracking. If you guys want to take a little picture of that, you can. But basically, portion control with your hands. I got this method from Precision Nutrition. And basically, as you can see here, you're measuring it according to your hand, which can be helpful for people, especially if you hate counting calories, because I know some people do. You just have to be mindful that you're tracking every little thing and making sure that you're not skipping any meals, like actually ignoring, especially if you go out to restaurants, it's gonna be hard to portion control with that, right? But if you do it at home, just measure up, and then as time goes on, you kind of track it. Are you not losing any weight? Well, maybe there's something that you have to kind of take off a smidge, maybe a half a palm or something like that, or finger, size, whatever it might be, and just little by little until you start to see progress. And typically people kind of go overboard on the weekends. That's kind of like the one time that everybody's like, I'm eating salads, I'm eating everything great, I'm drinking great throughout the week, and then boom, the weekend comes around and it all goes downhill. Then we feel guilty, feel like we went backwards, and it spirals. But like I said, for methods of tracking, you got to find one and just try and work with it. I know some people, they can do this for about or some coaches, they recommend about a month. Maybe even go for like a couple weeks, see if there's any progress. And I do want to mention too, these are all the basic nutrition kind of like guidelines I like to give. But I myself, I will say I'm not a nutritionist or dietitian, so I'm not an expert in this stuff. If you have a health condition or anything like that, or have food allergies, It's always good to check with your doctor or nutritionist or dietitian if you want to hire one of those people to help you out with your nutrition. That I recommend that. But for basic stuff, when you're just trying to lose weight and you're generally healthy and need some basic guidelines, these are some good guidelines to kind of go off of and see how you do with them. And then as you can see here is a total daily energy expenditure calculator, or iifym.com. This one here, that will actually iifym, the calories, you just put in your stats, and then from there you kind of figure out where your baseline is, where basically it'll show your maintenance calories. So that's how much your body actually needs in order to maintain, function, kind of thing. That's what your total daily energy expenditure. And that's not just exercise, because I sometimes ask people about exercise wise, and that's not necessarily what we're looking for about how many calories you burn in the day through exercise. It's throughout the whole day, throughout organ function and when you're moving around, exercising, all that stuff. These are all basic guidelines. So it's kind of like, if you get that number, it's not going to be, it may not be the gold standard number, like that's the exact one. You may have to kind of figure that out. You may have to kind of experiment with it a little bit. And I say on here, going to calorie deficit. So what I like to do is when I tell people to look at their nutrition for fat loss, general fat loss, is basically you're trying to go about 100 to 300 calories less. This is not, I don't promote any of that 1,200 calories or less, or 1,000 calories or less. Yes, I know it is scary, especially if you've been on a weight loss journey and you're trying to lose weight and you're told to eat more. I find a lot of people don't eat enough, which can be counterintuitive. You're like, well, eat more. It's like, I need to lose weight. Well, sometimes you actually need to eat a little bit more in order to keep your body moving. So, I mean, if you're eating very little calories, you're probably going to feel very edgy. You're going to probably start, having some being tired all the time. You might even have a problem with, hair loss. That could be a symptom of that if you're eating too little for too long. There's multiple different things that can happen. So I always encourage eating as many calories as you can, as much food as you can, while still losing fat. Because I think that's going to be I always find that's a better route, because you feel a little bit more better. You might feel a little bit hungry, but not starving. You don't want to be ravenous, kind of thing. And then one of the things I like to say about do's and don'ts of fat loss: don't rely on motivation to help you get the results. I encounter this so much with people where they say, well, I lost motivation, so I stopped, and then I feel terrible for doing it. I know I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyway. Well, what I would say to people that do this themselves, focus on implementing sustainable habits. So one of the things that could be is getting up for a 10-minute walk after you eat. Simple kind of thing. Or maybe just getting a few steps, maybe a few hundred steps after you eat or something like that. But I like to do 10-minute walks a day, or 10-minute walk or 15-minute walk after you eat. You may not feel like it, but try and do it. Getting the sleep, that's a little habit that can help out. Start tracking your food as much you can, as best you can, and just work on exercise. And it doesn't have to be like, I know many people, they kind of go on the 100% all or nothing, and you don't necessarily have to. I prefer you guys, if you're working with me, that you do 80% of the diet basically, or 80% plan 100% of the time. Okay, not going in waiting for like, well, this week won't be good because I'm not going to be able to do as much. Well, let's do something. So don't go off the deep end because you're feeling guilty or something. I encourage you to implement habits. And also, don't see yourself as a failure. So if you put something in your mind about a goal that you want to achieve, let's say you're going to be like, well, I'm going to do a workout, but then work got in the way, kids got in the way, family got in the way, and I feel frustrated with myself. And then you feel like you failed what you're supposed to do. Well, I want you to recognize why didn't that happen? Why weren't you able to accomplish what you needed to do? Maybe you had to adjust some things, learn from it. I know if you're here, most likely many people here have been trying to lose weight for years. I know some people for the majority of their life. And if that sounds like you, I would challenge you to think about all the diets that didn't work and why they didn't work. And then start encourage you to kind of gauge what actually does work for you. Everybody's a little bit different. And as I said, that it's like we want to work on daily habit changing, not so much of like yo-yo dieting where we're going to go, okay, I feel good now. Let's crash diet. Let's eat as little as possible and lose a bunch of weight. And then probably if you gained it all back whenever you did that before, maybe that's something that you need to look at. Maybe not binge eating or, going all, doing that kind of thing is not always the best. So don't look at yourself as a failure. Look at these things as lessons for yourself. Also, if you feel like binge eating, like I said, I would say do wait for about 20 minutes before you go binge eat. If you feel like you still want to eat, go for it. But like I said, typically people have a mentality of like, I'm going to go ahead and eat it like crazies. I've been waiting for this moment. And then all of a sudden it comes to it. If you just wait a little bit, sometimes that feeling might go away. And that's okay. And then be kind to yourself. Now, I know for a lot of people, especially whenever I'm coaching people, is that I find whenever people are on diets or, just on a health journey, you are very hard on yourself. You're almost, I don't like to be hard on my clients because you guys will be 10 times harder than I ever could be on anybody that's on the weight loss journey. You'll negative self-talk. You'll tell yourself that you're a failure. You tell yourself you can't stick to anything. You're terrible at this and blah, 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 whatever it might be, self-talk. And I want you guys to work on actually looking at what things you have been doing good. It could be that, I got up in the morning and I did a little bit of a walk today. It doesn't have to be food related. It could just be that. Or it could be like I ate some carbohydrates and I felt okay with it and I ate in moderation. That's another thing. You helped out the kids this morning and you were able to actually, if you are a parent, you helped out the kids and were able to get them ready in time and get them out the door. Look at the positives about your journey, not so much about like, oh, I messed this up, so I screwed it over. So be kind to yourself. And I find that with our bodies, we're made to move. So we're made to walk around, but of course, due to sitting in chairs at the office, due to driving around, we turn into a sedentary culture for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part. And you want to take care of your body. You want to move, you want to walk, you want to get stronger, because if you get stronger, then you can do daily activities better, more efficiently. You won't get as tired throughout the day by doing simple tasks. You won't get as tired by, walking up the steps with your family, and you won't be falling behind on that. Won't be feeling embarrassed because you're getting too winded over something, that kind of thing. And feed your body. Feed your body good foods, 80%, I would say the good food, nutritious food, 20%, not so great food. And I shouldn't even say not so great food. I mean, high calorie food. Because that's kind of the feel good food, right? We always kind of go, oh, I need to satisfy my craving, or I need to get a reward, not record, can't talk there. So I need a reward for, a busy, hard day. And so you eat the food and all of a sudden you feel like, well, now I feel like poo. So I wanted to emphasize eating good food, drinking plenty of water, getting that sleep. If you eat healthy and actually take care of your body, it'll start to go down a little bit further on the food, or on the fat loss, not on the food. Jeez. All right. So with strength training, whenever people wonder about like what are the best moves, so in order to burn more calories, which like I said, in relation to fat loss, you want to prioritize the big movements over the smaller movements. Larger movements, larger muscles burn more calories than smaller muscles, but don't neglect the smaller muscles because sometimes there could be a muscular imbalance that could occur from that. But for fat loss, we want to do that. So examples of exercises that burn most calories to least. So that's what you want to kind of do your order in. So most complex to least complex. So what does that look like? Doing a squat. There's a lot of different moving parts. There's the knees that have to bend, there's the ankles that have to bend, there's the hip that has to bend. There's a lot of muscles that are used. So whenever you beat up those muscles, your body has to recover those muscles, repair those muscles. And whenever those muscles are being repaired, your body has to work harder to repair them, and so that burns more calories. So your body has to work harder to repair that muscle, and so you burn more calories at rest. The stronger you get, the more calories you burn at rest, like I said. So the more muscle mass, more efficient. Your body becomes more of a high fat burning engine or calorie burning engine. Sorry. So I know for a lot of high end athletes, they can eat because they have to maintain, and they're working their tail off. They're going like the way I like to look at it is that if you are very sedentary and you sit down at a desk all day, and then versus you're a top end athlete in the Olympics, since the Olympics are going on. Now, the further you are from that Olympic athlete or that genetic potential where you're like super strong, you're super fit, you don't get out of breath as easy, and you're feeding yourself well, you will lose more fat in the beginning. If you're going from couch potato to athlete to your genetic potential, you'll lose more fat in the very beginning, and then you'll start to slow down. And that's usually when people start going like, well, I hit a plateau where I just got a little bit left, and you lose. Well, then you have to modify some things, and that's where the tracking came in, right? So you're tracking everything, seeing where you need to change with the nutrition aspect. I find that that's a big part. It's probably about 80% nutrition, 20% exercise for fat loss. So what I would say is choose a rep range with strength training. I would say about 12 to 15. I even go as low as 6 to 8 for some people. But if you're very new to strength training, I would stick to higher rep range at the beginning. Work on body weight first, and then work on the actual, including some extra resistance on the outside. So what that looks like is that, like I said, a squat, that can burn a lot of calories. A deadlift, that can burn a lot of calories. Push-ups, bench press. So anything that's like, because you're doing bench press, you're moving your shoulder, you're moving your elbow, and your wrist kind of has to work a little bit. Your abs, if you get really heavy bench press, your abs work hardcore, your back works really good. So prioritizing multiple joint movements, okay, versus single joint movements. So a single joint movement might be a bicep curl. A lot of people know how to do that one. So working that bicep, that's a smaller muscle group compared to, let's say, a row. And so basically, if you were to prioritize the movements, it'd be legs, something like a squat or deadlift, or even lunging or step ups, something like that. Then I would prioritize more back exercise, because the back is a very big part of your body. That's probably the second largest muscle group. So doing rows, chin-ups, lat pull-downs, any kind of row variation. You can do bodyweight rows, you can do dumbbell rows, you can do barbell rows, just depending on your fitness level though. So don't go all in like going hardcore on exercise that feels a little bit iffy, but challenge yourself in a certain rep range. Like I said, 12 to 15, 15 to 20, you can do in the beginning, and you can start to move down. I like to do 12 to 15 for most people in the first day, and then second time you come in, do the same exercises. You might do 10 to 12, then 8 to 10, 6 to 8, and then you cycle back through it. You want to try and strengthen your body as well, right? So basically, after the back, you do the chest. Like I said, bench pressing is good for that. You can do some sort of dip. Just be careful of your shoulder if you ever do dips, because that can, if you have a history of shoulder dislocation, watch out for that. As that puts it in a more susceptible position. Then after that, or doing push-ups, there you go. After that, shoulder press. So that's another big muscle group right there. So shoulder press, doing shoulder exercises, lateral flies, anything like that, or lateral raises, not lateral flies. What am I talking about there? And then after shoulders, it'd be triceps. So anything that works the back of the arm. So row pull down, push downs, skull crushers, anything like that. And then of course, bicep curls would be the last thing, the smaller muscle group. So hopefully that explains some stuff. And again, you guys can put this in the chat box too. I'll check it out here if you have any questions. And then with cardio, I recommend doing 10,000 steps a day, or technically, if that's a really high number for you, I would just work on slightly averaging a little bit higher each time, like each day or even each week. So just take an average and just try and go slightly higher next time. And then the other way you can look at it too is if you're pretty good at endurance and you've been like, I've been doing 10,000 steps a day, I've been rocking it for a while, for at least a month, then you can even try and do the 1-to-2 ratio for cardio. So what that looks like, 30 seconds or a minute of high intensity pace, you can maybe speak about a couple words, but if you can sing, it's too easy. But basically say a couple words, maybe a few words at a time before you have to take a breath. So if you're having a conversation with somebody, you can maybe get out a couple words, like I said. And then you go fast paced, and then you go a little bit easier. So you go easier, a little slower paced. And then with that, you should be a conversation. Okay. Then after you get done with that, you go back up to the intensity part. So, basically what I'm saying is that you can do either 30 seconds or a minute, just double that time for the rest time, because basically shooting that heart rate up and bring it back down, that'll help out with pushing or burning those calories more efficiently. All right. And then basically I would say, whenever people say, well, what exercise is the best, which I said the prioritization of, muscle groups and what you should try and work on. But the other thing is do something you enjoy, because there's almost no point, I find in my mind, if you're dragging your tail just to do exercise or just do exercise program and you don't like it. Well, maybe it's time to find some, like, you can do boxing, you can do yoga, you can do Pilates, but some type of resistance training always helps, and you don't have to do it with extra weights. You can do it with your body weight. Getting up and down out of a chair, that's resistance training. Doing push-ups, that's resistance training. Doing pull-up, that's resistance training. So you can get kind of creative. And I always say, like I said, start off with your body weight and then work your way up. And start off kind of with a lighter weight and higher reps, just to kind of get your body used to it. And another thing to think about too with strength training and cardio, you don't have to be in a puddle of sweat, writhing around in pain and everything, just in order to have a good workout. A good workout is that you're pushing with good technique and good form on each exercise. If you're doing strength training, you're doing everything perfect with your technique and everything, and you're actually progressing. So if you're choosing a rep range of like 12 to 15, you want to make sure that 15th rep range on like maybe the first set, I like to do 3 sets for myself personally whenever I train my clients. So I do 12 to 15 of the exercise. You should be able to get maybe about 17 for the first set. Second set, you come back around, you'll do about maybe about 12 to 15. You should feel about 15 reps would be challenging, and the last set should be about 12. So you want to make sure that you're recording your exercises and recording your programs, so you actually know if you are progressing. If you don't record it and you're just kind of going back and forth, like I know I did a video the other day, it was about training versus exercising. If you're training, you're actually tracking what your rest is, what your reps are, and how many sets there are. Okay. With rest time, it's more about, if you go for a minute, it's a little more endurance training. That's what I like to do for fat loss. It's kind of it's not too much of like a power exercise, not too much of a low endurance or a high endurance exercise, but it's somewhere in between. So I like to rest about a minute and then do it again. And I like to do circuit style training or supersets. Supersets are 2 exercises back to back and then you rest. 2 exercises back to back, then you rest. An example could be a squat and a push-up, or a squat and a row, and then maybe a hip thrust or glute bridge and a push-up or a shoulder press. Something that's counteracting opposite muscle groups. Another one is circuit training. That's a popular one to do, where you're doing multiple different exercises back to back to back, then you rest. And then once you come back, you go back to back to back, and you have a full body routine. So legs, I go legs back, hinging with your hips. So deadlifts, glute bridges, swings, hip thrusts, whatever those are for you that you want to choose. And then let's see here, I did that. And then it'd be the pushing. So it'd be like push-ups, shoulder press, something like that. So large muscle groups, whenever I do the burning the most calories. So I went on a tangent there. Sorry. So that's what I would say with strength training versus exercise. I know training versus exercise. Exercise is more about, I'm going to find a YouTube video and I'm just going to go ahead and do it for some amount of time. It didn't really challenge me, but I got a good sweat. Getting a good sweat doesn't necessarily mean that you are getting a good workout. Okay. Just be mindful that there's a difference between training versus exercising for that. So, all right, and then where is that? There we go. Is it not working? Oh no, something not work. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, so if you hit a plateau, re-examine how many calories you end up burning each day. So with fat loss, like I said, you guys may be trying to get spot reduce right up in here, might be trying to get rid of your stomach, and you're just like, what do I do? It all comes down to nutrition in my experience. So work on that nutrition aspect, work on taking care of your body, and everything will start to come in line. Look at your liquid calories and sauces. Okay. That can actually add up. And I know even cooking with like olive oil or something like that, or not saying cook with olive oil, but just any type of oils to kind of put on the pan, that can add up too. Are you eating out a lot? And I actually read an article recently about this, and the person that wrote it made a good point that it's like, restaurants are basically the chef, their job is not to look at portion controlling and looking at your helping out with your fat loss. What they're doing is that they're trying to add on what do you call it? So they're not necessarily going for portion control, they're going for good tasting food. They're trying to keep you coming back. Wow, that was an amazing dinner. Okay, well, it might have butter, might have all kinds of fattening things that go into it that taste really good. So the way to counteract that, if you're eating out a lot, maybe start reducing that down where you're actually going out to eat at, or not going out to eat, but you're eating at home. You're examining what exactly you're making at home. You're portion controlling it, you're tracking it, that kind of thing. So it gives a little more control over yourself rather than just having the chef bring out the food and then, or, you get the food from the restaurant and you get a bunch of food right there. It tastes good, but how many calories are in it? And then sometimes they even estimate it, I assume. But just be mindful. If you're struggling with it, that plateau, maybe it's something to examine. Are you tracking your food on the weekends when you go out with your friends and family? That could be another thing. Because I know majority of the time, whenever I work with my clients, it'll be during the weekdays that they eat really good and drink plenty of water and stuff. Then the weekend hits and then they go off the deep end and they feel shame for it. I've had some people where I've had clients where they actually tell me they go out with friends and then it turns out that that they eat a bunch of food. They contact me. I had someone contact me once, or a couple people, and they said, I went out with friends and I need your help on not feeling so bad about what I did, about eating all the food. And I said, well, first of all, did you enjoy the food? Did you enjoy the company? I said, yeah. Okay, good. And so then I was like, then let's just see what happens on the weekend. It's not gonna be one meal that kills you over, guys. If you guys get on the scale and you eat a bunch of food, that's not necessarily fat. That's just food that's undigested, Or if you drink a bunch of water, that's, there's a trainer that did that too, where he drank a bunch of water and then he gained like 3 or 4 pounds right then and there. It wasn't fat, it's just water. So be careful of the scale. That's why I say I don't like to use the scale for measurement of progress. But as far as like hitting your plateau, if you hit that plateau and you're trying to figure out why exactly you can't get past it, look at tracking your food every single time, whether it's portion controlling or tracking your calories. Okay. Or if you have another method of tracking, you can do that. But I would just, watch out for that and make sure you're challenging yourself on your workouts. I know for some people, they feel like I said, I've had some people that say, I just got a good sweat. Well, I know for myself, I sweat pretty easily. So if you're a person that just wants to sweat, that's fine. If you're a person that just wants to work out, just to work out because it's your time, that's fine. But if you're trying to actually train yourself on trying to get stronger, trying to get more fit, have better endurance, and be just better you, and try to fat burn, tracking everything across the board is good. Oh, sorry. Apparently someone's coming outside, I think. Hey, Sophie. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so anyways, my dog is apparently loving whatever that was. Oh, she left. Sorry. So the other thing is the fat loss process, it's a very much mental game. This is a huge thing. Of course, with hey guys, with weight loss, it's all about, burning more calories than you're eating, right? It's kind of like a math problem. You're just trying to make sure you're burning more calories than you're eating and you become a fat burning machine. or calorie burning machine. Now, for whenever you're going off on the deep end, make sure you give yourself a break. That you're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. Don't tell yourself you will, because it's just like, with motivation. I know somebody told me a good saying, and it always stuck with me, that motivation is like a bad boyfriend. It's never there when you need it. So it's, of course, go both ways, but you know what I mean? It's like if you're relying on motivation to always keep you going, don't do that. Focus on little steps to take you forward, and give yourself permission to feel okay about things, about what food you ate, and start viewing yourself differently. Because I know for some people, they have a belief that, I'm a fat person. You're labeling yourself as a fat person. No, you're a person that has body fat. Simple as that. Another way to think about this too is that if you are, let's say, 100 pounds overweight, a way to kind of look at that in my mind is you can grab on a couple of dumbbells, or you can put on a barbell on your back and you're carrying a distance and you're holding 100 pounds of extra weight on you. You're strong. So your legs are strong. So that's another way to look at this process. And another thing is to, sit down whenever you eat, make sure that you're actually enjoying your food. Like I said, kind of look at that mindset and looking at failure as a learning experience. Don't think about I always fail at diets. I'm a person that always fail at diets and there's no doubt about it. Or I'm a person that always, I eat this and then, I'm, binge eat like crazy and I go out of control easily. Well, learn from these things. Don't just try to label yourself as, this action that you do. Okay. If something doesn't work, why doesn't it work? Let's figure that out. That's something to think about for yourself, is why a certain diet didn't work. Why, maybe if you're finding yourself not being able to stop eating carbs because you crave it so much, maybe it's time to start eating some carbs by moderation, right? And I mean, if you're on a diet that restricts any certain food group, unless of course, like I said, if you have diabetic, you have some sort of health concern or anything like that requires you to have a specific diet, that's different. But if you're generally healthy, trying to lose weight, technically you don't really have to restrict any food. Just make sure you keep it in moderation. And that comes back to tracking your food intake. So I just want to say thank you all for your time here, for taking your time out of your day to actually come on in and do this. This is my first webinar, so it's kind of exciting. Basically, what I want to check and see now is if you guys have any questions for me. Let's see, do I have anything in the chat box? No, not yet. So, like I said, this whole fat loss process, there's no way to spot reduce. What you need to do is start taking care of your body and prioritizing yourself. I know many times it's easy and you feel kind of like you're guilty sometimes about taking care of yourself. You feel like you need to take care of others before you take care of yourself. Well, one of the things I like to think about for fat loss wise is think about the analogy of going through turbulence on a plane. What they tell you first is, whenever the oxygen mask comes on, you need to first put on yourself, then help out your spouse or help out your kids. So that kind of relates to this in the sense that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help out other people as efficiently and as well as you should or as you could. If you're barely sleeping, you'll be edgy and you won't be able to think well and all that stuff. If you are, if you're not exercising, you're not moving around well, you'll feel, fatigued, you'll feel draggy, and then eventually you could get hurt if you don't, strengthen up your muscles correctly. And it's just, you need to prioritize your own health in order to help out other people. And of course, with nutrition, like I said, tracking is a big thing. You need to work on your tracking in some way, shape or form. Of course, if there's one day you don't track, that's okay. But the other thing I want you to think about is measuring in different areas of your body. So I always talk about, forearm, bicep, large part of your chest, large part of your stomach, your booty, your thighs, and your calves. just so you can measure all the areas. Don't just go in your stomach, because I've had somebody do that and they're like, well, I didn't lose anything. It's like, well, they could have been losing, because I've had some people lose it in their thighs and their arms, their chest, before they lose it in their stomach, you know. So, and I also recommend doing progress pictures. But like I said, if you're trying to lose areas in those stubborn area, lose body fat in those stubborn areas, you just got to re-examine how many calories you're taking in, make sure you're tracking your food, make sure you're tracking your training, and actually work on these things and taking care of your body. Simple as that. And of course, you might need to adjust some things. You might need to add some more vegetables. I know somebody who added a little more vegetables, all of a sudden they started losing more weight. Or they drank more water, all of a sudden they started losing a little more inches around their midsection, kind of thing. So I guess that's basically how I would go about this, and like whenever I train people. And challenge your mindset. It's okay to eat some carbs. Oh, thanks, Ron. Awesome. That's awesome. You'll start walking after dinner. That's awesome. Good to hear. And let me know, did this help you guys? I plan to do this again at some point. And if there's anything that I did not talk about that you guys feel like, hey, I really want to learn a little bit more about this, or I really wanted to hear a little bit more about this, go ahead and let me know. I'd be happy to, research it if I don't already know the answer to it. But I hope this did help. And of course, prioritizing the major muscle groups throughout your body. Prioritize the legs, the back, the chest, the shoulders, and triceps and the biceps. Largest to smallest. If you can't do that, if you're on a pinch, choose the larger muscle groups: the legs, the chest, the back, and the shoulders. And that'll burn more calories than if you just did bicep curls the whole time, which I see a lot of people do in the gym. That they don't know how to do anything, they just start bicep curling. Which, of course, if you want to do any sort of, like, I will say this, if you want to do any sort of ab exercise, I recommend doing the plank. Make sure that you do breathe too. So if you hold your breath, your blood pressure will shoot up. So if you have blood pressure issues, that can happen. So just make sure you do breathe while you do that. But that incorporates a lot of different muscles at one time, not just the stomach muscles. It works on the shoulders, it works on the triceps, works on the chest a little bit more. Works if you squeeze your glutes, which actually activates the abs a little more. That'll help activate the abs. Strain your legs out. That makes you more thigh related. So it's total body exercise that helps burn a lot more calories. So I appreciate you saying that, Ron. Thanks for letting me know what your intake was. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And this is live on Facebook, it looks like still. So if you guys have any questions on Facebook, go ahead and, mention whatever it is that you want more information on. Or if you want, my nutrition guide, I have a portion control guide. I have a jumpstart program that's 1 week. People that usually do it, these are all free. There's no money involved with these. If you with the jumpstart program, people that actually put their full effort into it start seeing progress within the first week or so. But if you put a little into it, you probably won't see as much progress. So you'll get out of it what you put into it. I've had some people put in 50% and they didn't see much. So, and they're all very basic stuff. And that's pretty much all I got for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for coming along. Hope you guys have a great night. I know here it's 7 o'clock, almost 8 on a Thursday night. So have a great night, guys. And thanks for coming along. All right. I'll see ya.